So welcome everybody. I'm Arek, this is Piotr. We are from Sublime, and I will tell you what Sublime is. Probably you don't know. So here today we are here with Tribe, and I think that's the fourth event from this series, fourth or fifth. And we are presenting you like different methods to grow. And Tribe is talking about executing growth, and we as Sublime are talking about measuring the growth. And to be more precise, our platform, so Sublime Analytics platform, measures growth for D2C and e-commerce brands, and we do it for companies from Europe and from the US. Yeah, so now you know us. We won't be like asking about from which company you are because it will take too much time. But let's set some background for measuring profitability and why we are talking about this topic and not, for example, about measuring acquisitions or measuring transactions. So in the last couple of years, the customer acquisition cost, especially in digital channels, increased significantly, and probably all of you felt that. And there were two main reasons of this situation. First of all, being a lot of new companies entering the digital space, and the second one, COVID. And COVID also was connected with the first reason because of COVID, a lot of companies moved online and started e-commerces or strengthened the online presence. So the customer acquisition costs between 2021 and 2022 on average increased by 28%. It was different for different product categories, but the customer acquisition cost will be rising in the future, and this is the trend, and it translates to a change in the profitability measurement, profitability optics, because as you probably know or you felt, you cannot expect your client to pay back your customer acquisition cost with the first transaction. Probably you notice that you need to pay for the customer more than he's leaving with the first conversion. And I found in the internet statistic that says that e-commerce brand loses on average, because it's probably it's different for different categories, but on average loses around $29 in the US for every new customer. So return on asset is not the good profitability measure. You need to look deeper. You need to connect a lot of dots. You need to know your customer's lifetime value, for example, because you know that it doesn't mean when you're losing with every new customer, it doesn't mean that you are running your business in the wrong way. It means that you need to know more about your customer and about the spending pattern and how much money and about your margin and how much money the customer will leave in the future. Okay, so the opening question to warm you up. So how do you measure profitability of your acquisition channels right now? There are no wrong answers. At least I know people that will participate in the panel, so I know that some of you are spending money. Sorry?
How much money I have on the account?
Yeah, how much money? Yeah. You have on the account, but maybe you are looking. Yeah, probably you are running some paid marketing channels, probably 100%. So when you have your paid marketing channels running, so what profitability measure? What profitability measure you use? Is only money spent, impressions? What?
ROI most probably.
ROI?
Yeah.
Okay. From.
So I want to see how much I will get for investing some kind of money in some channel.
And yeah, so it's an ROI from ad platform. So from Google, from Meta, or from.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? So you were just spending money, throwing it through the window, and I don't believe that really. Cost of acquisition and calculated in, or How do you calculate cost of acquisition?
Comparing it to lifetime value.
You compare it to lifetime value. Good. That's a good answer.
I've done that.
Like giving unique coupons for every platform.
So you are giving like unique coupons in Meta, for example, and then you are.
They are different, and the attribution is perfect.
Okay, so you're just okay. So you know who came from this channel, and you then calculate like ROI stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay, you do it like in
small scale.
in a small scale. You do it like in which tool? You do it like in which tool? Like in Ad Panel, in Google Analytics, or in your database?
The coupons analytics I have in WooCommerce.
Okay, so in e-commerce platform. Okay, cool. That's a good one. Anything?
We normally look just at the revenue increase, just at the bottom line, and the number of transactions, pre-campaigns and after campaigns.
Okay.
Of course, we calculate LTV, we calculate like CAC, we calculate all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we turn on the campaigns 3 months after there is literally no increase. And I think it's pretty obvious that our effort doesn't really bring anything.
So you analyze like the data on aggregated level,
Yes.
and you are looking for like increments.
Yes, we analyze it literally on every level.
Okay, cool. Anyone? Okay, so all the measurement methods that you mentioned, they are good, but they like need to be like put in a good context. And the measuring methods, at least like the ones that we encountered in like working with our client and before in the agency, we can categorize we can put into into several like categories. The third one is the ad platforms data. So you look at ad platforms and you are like checking what platforms are saying. So how much conversion platform attributed to itself. The second one is the Google Analytics attribution. Probably you are very familiar with that one and all the troubles and that you need to like go through to get the data. There are some third-party attribution tools. I guess any of you like using that? Which one?
Magics, for example.
Magics. Okay.
Triple whale as well.
Triple whale, yeah, that's really that's very popular recently, yeah. Okay. So we have like
Basic question. What's an attribution tool?
What's an attribution tool? So the attribution tool is the tool that is like let's say tracking all, maybe not all, but let's say all the touch points that the user had with your advertising, with the channels through which you are like giving him information, and then it's attributing the conversion that the user did at the end to a certain channel. And you can have like a third-party tools to do it. You have also like the conversion lifts, so incrementals, testing, this kind of stuff. So you are like leaving like part of your users without like ad, and the rest you are serving an ad, and then you are checking if the ad was increased like the conversion rate, or if it was like any kind of lift. And you can like do a hybrid of the ones above, and like try to mix the methods, knowing like each method like pros and cons. And there are like some like marketing mix modeling or surveys that are not that popular, but are like still used by sometimes like bigger brands. Okay, so all of these like measuring methods, like as I said, like are good, but they need to like be put in the context. And we let's run them like through two main scenarios. And the first one is like when you have an early stage or small company that runs only one main paid channel, and usually it's like Google Ads if the company is like targeting users at the bottom of the funnel, and maybe Meta if the company is like targeting users in the middle of the funnel. So for this scenario, like the ad platform's data that you are getting is enough, and for a couple of reasons. So first of all, the ROAS or ROI is a good proxy of profitability because you can like easily based on your e-commerce transaction data, you can easily calculate the LTV, and then you can have a multiplier, and then you can like have this. Then you can have the. Then you can use the multiplier to check if the ROI is at the good level. So if you're like covering all your customer acquisition costs and stuff like that. Second reason is that the attribution is done within a single channel. So the attribution model that is built in the ad platform is like tracking all touch points with your ads. So it should be like pretty accurate. The third one is like the platforms usually have several attribution models to choose from, so you can like have different like points of view, and you can have you can check if the campaigns that you are running are more like on the at the beginning of the conversion path, or maybe they are at the end of the conversion path, and that gives you a little bit of understanding of how your customers are interacting with your ads. And the fourth one, I think like the most important one, it's simple, it's ready to use, and you can like use it out of the box. And the second scenario, the more common one, and it's the most interesting for us, is like the scenario where you have like the medium-sized company that have 2 or maybe more paid channels, and usually company like goes from scenario 1 to scenario 2, like by adding, for example, Meta to Google Ads when they are like when they reach like all the customers at the bottom of the level and they need to like go a little bit up, or like adding TikTok to Meta when in Meta you reach the ceiling, you are like paying for customers like too much, or you cannot like have like higher CAC in this channel, and then the fun begins. And how do you think? Like, do you think that the ad platform's data that you use like in the scenario 1, so at the phase before, is it like a good fit for this for companies in this situation, or it's not? That's a tricky one.
No, because what if the user clicked on both ads in both channels? You won't be able to track which one was the actual.
Yeah, exactly, because those platforms like they don't see each other. Yeah, that's a good reason. Why not? Yeah, it's like the channels overlap it's one of the main issues when you have when you are like playing with more than like one paid channel, and sometimes like we can like have a peculiar situation in which we when we sum up all the conversion from all like ad platforms, they can sum up to more than 100 like transactions that you have in your e-commerce system. And that's a clear indicator that something is wrong. And we did some overlap analysis with Sublime. And for example, like the overlap when you run like Meta and Google Ads non-brands can be like from 5 to 40% even. So the results that you are like seeing in your ad platforms can be quite distorted. The second cause is that the attribution models, even like the simple ones in ad platforms, they are different from each other. They differ. And for example, in Google Ads, you have like click-through attribution, and in Meta you have click-through and view-through attribution. So it seems like the Meta is the same as TikTok, but the look-back window on Meta and TikTok is different. So you need to be quite careful when you are like comparing the data from all the platforms at once. And it's the most like prosaic and operational reason. There are like too many sources of truth. So when you like, for example, like running like 3 channels, so Google Ads, Meta, and TikTok, you have to like move back and forth between like different dashboards. You have to like check the data. You don't know which one are more correct than the others. So it's a nightmare, and you can solve that by like building a big Excel file with all the results from ad platforms. But you do it like, I think like our clients, like if we work with our clients, they do it like bi-weekly or monthly, so it's not like on daily basis. the data there the data there are like aggregated, and there are like a lot of errors because when they input the data, they do it by hand, so manually, and when you are like exhausted at the end of the day, it's not always a good choice to do it. So big Excel file is can work, but when you are like scaling your company, when you are adding like more campaigns, when you want to go deeper, it's not a good fit. And so when you use the results from ad platforms, the picture that you are seeing is not satisfactory. You feel that you are overpaying, but you don't know where, because you know that something is wrong. That you see only the fragment of the whole picture, only a couple of puzzles, and you don't understand how channels interact because platforms give you only the perspective of the platform. So, what our clients do, they are looking for answers outside, and there is one tool that is like implemented nearly like for every client, Google Analytics 4. And they are like turning to Google Analytics 4 for the answers, and that's a step forward. And do you use like Google Analytics 4 for attribution, or you use like ad panels mainly? Everything. That's a good one. So a mixture, because you don't trust, because probably. So what's wrong with ad panels? What's wrong with Google Analytics?
Well, different attribution models, that you mentioned before.
Okay. And you don't know which one is the right one, or probably like none.
It's something what you said, right? You always need to put it in the context. You can't just analyze the data just looking at the raw numbers and just argue with the client that these are right numbers when he's saying it's not, right? So you just need to always put it in the context. At least that's how it works for us.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks. So. I start my part with being the judge of Google Analytics 4 and say how our clients are using it, what are the good sides and what are the worst sides. So on the pro side of Google Analytics, this is the place where you have all the main channels included, and in this way you get to get rid of those channel overlaps that you have in ad platforms. So you get to see the duplicated results between Meta, Google Ads, and TikTok. So this is a very big win. Also, you have a few attribution models which you can choose from, which you can compare, and they will be all applied evenly to all the channels. And if you are determined and you will dig deeper, then Google Analytics 4 also gives you access to conversion paths, so you can see how those channels interact, how users interact with the channels, which channels are in the early stage of the funnel, which are in the middle, and which end the conversion journey. So this is all good with Google Analytics 4, but it's not only good, and there's important cons, and I probably will start with the less painful ones. So the first one is that for the Google Analytics 4 to work, you need to have a really good UTM tagging structure, and this is not always the case, as we see. So this is like a first con. The other one is that in Google Analytics 4, you're only seeing clicks. You don't see impressions, which is contrary to the ad platforms, where you can have results that include ad impressions. Google Analytics 4 is mostly cookie-based, and this means that all the problems that cookies face are included in Google Analytics 4. So ad blocking, consent mode, browsers blocking cookies. This is all distorting the Google Analytics data. There's some problems with channels, so-called hard to measure channels, what we call them. For instance, when you're working with influencers or some affiliate networks, you want to judge them based on the promo codes. This is like a popular tactic, and it's really difficult for brands to include that kind of attribution within the Google Analytics 4. So in that case, a big channel like influencers will be missing from that analysis. There is no cost side, so you don't get to see ad spends in Google Analytics 4, so you only have the conversion and revenue side. What's more, most of the time Google Analytics 4 shows really unreliable revenue figures. You can pass revenue to Google Analytics 4, but most of the time is what we see is that these figures are really far off the actual revenue. For instance, it's hard to incorporate order returns or failed payments and so on. And finally, probably the biggest con is that the results that you get from Google Analytics 4 will be radically different to what you see in ad platforms. So the channel performance will be most of the times much worse in Google Analytics 4 than in ad platform like Meta or TikTok. And for these reasons, this discrepancy in data creates a lot of distrust in attribution overall. So you don't really know which tool is telling the truth. Is it somewhere in the middle? And in the end, how should we make decisions based on that? And we see that brands face that problem and have a few ways to deal with this. And one way to deal is to take something in the middle. So if one tool is showing a number that is this high, the other showing that this is this high, so let's take something in the middle, and maybe this will be most safe way. The other technique, which is we see that one tool is used for budgeting, so determining what will be the budget split, how much will I what will be the budget for Meta, what will be the budget for Google Ads, and then we go back to panels for daily optimization, which is not really a connected approach to making decisions. And the third one, the third method to deal with this discrepancy is to use one tool or ad platforms to drive the decisions, but use GA4 to keep this in check. So we're trusting more Meta, TikTok, and Google Ads, but we also check how it ends up in Google Analytics 4. And if there are no radical changes, then all is good. And if we see that the results are off, then we start trying to figure it out why it happened the way it happened. So this all works somehow, but as the scale and complexity grow, this becomes really hard to manage, and we see that companies are trying to do something else. And the next step that they take is something that we call first-party attribution. So let me explain this term, this first-party attribution. And first, I'm gonna say what is it not. So first-party attribution is not another black box model which is AI-based, which does some magic tricks to come up with attribution numbers. This usually creates even more distrust in the data. But first-party attribution is a rather simple attribution model that is performed outside of those platforms, that is performed outside of Meta, outside of TikTok, outside of Google Analytics 4. It is based on the data that is stored in those systems. So raw data is extracted from those platforms, from e-commerce tool. And based on that data, we try to reconstruct the conversion paths of customers. And if we do that, what we gain is a much bigger control over our data, which can be translated into new capabilities. First one is obvious, so we get to deduplicate between channels. We get to include channels that are difficult to measure in the platforms. So coupon codes for influencers is the main one probably. We get to connect the cost side, so ad spends, but also spends for influencers with the revenue side. And if revenue is not enough, we can base this analysis on profit or lifetime value. We get to have a very low granularity of the analysis, so on the ad level and order level. We can add impressions if this is something that we care about to the model, and we can run this automatically daily to have fresh data every day. And to put this into practice, I wanted to show you how it looks like in our tool, and what is the plus side of the first-party attribution. So on the glance, it looks like a standard attribution table. So in rows, you have different channels. In columns, you have different metrics like ad spend, ROAS, revenue, conversion rates, and so on. But the key lies in a few details that really build trust in the whole system. So first one is pretty obvious. So we want our attribution to sum up to our actual revenues. So we don't want some artificial revenues passed to ad platforms that is off by 15 or 20%. We want our actual revenue data. And if we want something more detailed than revenue, we can choose profit or LTV. The key is that this will match what is in our P&L report. The other important feature is the attribution model configuration. So here we want simple and intuitive models that really tell what is going on behind the scene. And if we want to configure something very specific for our brand, this will also be simple and possible. The third part is about transparency. So we won't stop using ad platforms and we won't stop seeing their numbers. So what we want to show here is what is each platform reporting, self-reporting, what is the platform ROAS from each tool like Facebook, Google, or TikTok. Because this will give us an estimation or an understanding how big are these overlaps and how off are these platforms by themselves. And we can compare this to this first-party ROAS that we're seeing in our actual data. Last but not least is these hard-to-measure channels like influencers and affiliates that we can easily incorporate into this one table. And this is analysis on the channel level. So this is good for dividing the budgets, but if you want to get deeper for optimization reasons, we can have the same level of detail analysis, but on keyword level, on ad level, and creative level. So this is like the main feature of the first-party attribution, but it's not the only one, because if from attribution you get some numbers that are not intuitive, that seem off, that you want to really double check, then because this is the data you own on the very granular level, you can really run diagnostics on it. So first way is to check the conversion journeys, to try to visualize how the users are moving between channels, if this is something that we expected, or maybe this is not, our media mix is not working as we expected. And we can even go to the order level data to see So see per order how each customer behaved, how the conversion path looked like, when it started, when it ended, and so on. So this is something that really helps to get the trust into those numbers. But this doesn't mean that this first-party attribution is perfect, and it still has some important limitations. So the first one is that it's pretty much impossible to include offline channels such as TV into this mix. This first-party attribution is still suffering from tracking limitations and problems with cookies. This is especially important for mobile apps, for cross-device tracking. The consent mode is distorting the data, so this is still an issue here. And finally, what we are still looking at is historical performance of our channels, and this doesn't have to translate into the future. So this is not giving us perfect and easy recommendations on what to do. To try to fight these limitations, it's really good to turn to these other methods that were already mentioned, because they fill nicely the gaps that the first-party attribution have. So, for instance, marketing mix modeling can help us to forecast into the future, and we can use those numbers to adjust our first-party attribution model. We can run, from time to time, we can run incrementality tests to help to double-check what our model is telling us, and also to make some adjustments. And another really nice method and pretty cheap one is to run surveys. Simply ask customers how did they hear about you, where did they see your ads, and if we get those numbers, this is really an easy implementation to the model, which will make it more precise.
Yeah. So it's nearly the end. So key conclusions. So we are like living with some rule of thumb when to use which method, because like the businesses are growing and they are not like requiring like marketing modeling from the start. That's nonsense. So if you have like one main paid channel, you are good with ad platforms data. If you have 2+ paid channels, you can start with ad platforms plus GA4 attribution, and it should be good to certain like company size. But after that, we will recommend to moving to first-party attribution as the next step. And you can like supplement that by marketing mix modeling, incrementality test, and user service. And I think that's all. If you have any questions, we will be happy to not to ask, but to answer. Okay, thank you very much.